Hello, hello. This is the My Artifact episode number 3401. Today's date is April 29, 2025. It's been almost like a night at 9:56 p.m. Okay, we directly jump into the question. All right, let's go. Okay, yeah. Now, question is, how does the laws of nature inspired innovation in human made creation? Oh, that is a really good question. Okay, yeah. What exactly is this thing? What is exactly meaning of this question? The meaning of this question is kind of like a saying that ki, there are so many innovation is actually happened by nature. Okay, yeah, and we have to copy that innovation in our modern world. If you still not really understand, okay, yeah. By the way, basically is this thing. Let me tell you one thing regarding about the biomimicry. Okay, yeah, it's a kind of like a simply precise definition that could kind of like okay, what is actually biomimicry? Mimicry means like that we mimic, means like that we copy. Like I am mimicking Shah Rukh Khan style or Salman Khan style. That means I am copying the style of Salman Khan or Shah Rukh Khan. Okay, yeah. So mimicry means like copy. Bio means like that you are copying biology of, you're copying biology means bio means like a usually associate with the nature. Yeah, means like that you are copying some certain stuff from nature. Still not understand? Okay, yeah. um have you seen birds? Obviously, yeah, everyone's seen birds. Okay, yeah, birds have a wing, right? And birds can fly because of the wing. We have aeroplane who kind of like a simply fly is because of it works on kind of like a something, it works on principle of how birds could fly, and we design a particular aircraft that could fly and that could kind of like a work as a wing. That could means like that na ki, I don't know how do I supposed to explain this thing. It's something that na ki birds have wing. Okay, yeah, and that's why they are kind of like a fly in the air. Okay, yeah, we are kind of like a somebody try to understand how birds fly, how the wings actually work and things like that. We understand things, we understand these things, we try to figure it out what exactly is this thing, how does we supposed to utilize this process or this birds mechanism so that we could fly. We try multiple kind of like a something attempt, like a Wright brothers dude kind of like a fly with a lot of planes. Okay, yeah, like a basically Leonardo da Vinci who also create a kind of like a something particular mechanism, kind of like a something would kind of like a fly and things like that. So basically is this thing, as a we means like human are inspired from the nature, and we try to improvise that particular mechanism so that we could utilize to make us our work is more efficient, more better. Okay, yeah, like as I mentioned birds. Okay, yeah, like we understand the mechanism of the birds, how they could fly, and we invented the aircraft, passenger vehicle, Airbus A380, Boeing 707. These are kind of like some aircraft that we have. That's why we could kind of like travel every part of corner of the world less than a 24 hour. Okay, yeah. So this is what it is. Okay, yeah. We are inspired from nature, but there are so many ways that we are inspired from so many things. Okay, yeah. Like have you seen submarine? Yeah, like have you seen submarine? Submarine is a kind of like a something. Just try to understand the shape of the submarine. It kind of like look like a shark or blue whale, probably. Do you understand this thing or not? like a, it's not practically kind of like a something similar, but try to understand. Okay, yeah. So submarine has a kind of like a something cylindrical, okay, yeah, but narrow cylindrical. Same thing happened with the fish, same thing happened with the shark, same thing happened with the blue whale. It's not exactly as similar, but it kind of like a work at like that. Okay, yeah. uh, in submarine we also have kind of like a, sorry, in shark, we have, in shark they have something called I don't know what is actually called, like they have some sort of wings, probably. I'm not really sure what exactly they called it. Okay, yeah. But in a submarine we also have kind of like a some certain wings to maneuver their entire things. Okay, yeah. We called it rudder. Okay, yeah. Rudder is kind of like utilized to maneuver the submarine from inside the water. Okay, so basically is this thing na ki our invention, the submarine invention, is actually came from the species inside the water. Okay, the shark, the blue whale, the everything kind of like a look like that. Okay, a kind of like some cylindrical tube. So this is what exactly is submarine are associated with that. Okay, yeah. uh there are so many things. Okay, yeah. Another thing is kind of like a something velcro. Yeah. Okay, what is a velcro? Velcro is a kind of like a thing, yeah, that you are using every day in your life. Okay, yeah. Like a velcro means like that na, there is a one surface is a smooth, another surface is a rough. We stick together and it stick with each other. Okay, yeah. This is how this thing is actually happening, is because of kind of like a something smooth surface are kind of like a something attached to the rough surface. Okay, yeah. And this is what we found when people, like basically from thousands of people, we are actually living in jungle. Okay, yeah. And when we live in jungle, we found out that some sort of grass or some sort of things are stick in our thighs or in our kind of like a something clothes or things like that. Okay, yeah. So this is what kind of like only velcro is actually invented, because velcro is kind of like associated with that, because the cloth at the ancient time, the cloth that we are using was soft, and the grass or every kind of like a material are little bit of rough, so it stick with it. Okay, yeah. So this is what kind of like a something invention was actually happened. Okay, yeah. So but it just like that now, how this invention is actually happened, like how does nature is invented things? Well, nature does not invented things. It's not. It's kind of like a something, the evolution is actually happened. What do you mean by evolution? Okay, yeah. Okay, so evolution is if I wanted to understand, it's a mutation. Okay, I just try to understand the mutation. Okay, so what exactly is this thing? Let's just example take a bird. Okay, yeah. So if as a human wants to fly, okay, as a human wants to fly, what kind of like a stuff do we need? We need a kind of like a some wings, right? Okay, so we build up the wings, like we have kind of like a modern technology, and we build up some sort of wings and stuff like that. Okay, yeah. But after the wings, can we fly? No, nothing really at all. Why? Because let me tell you one thing now, wings are kind of like attached with a very powerful thing. What do you mean by that? Okay, yeah. So as a human, we are the human. Okay, yeah. And one of the very powerful muscle in our body is our thighs. Okay, yeah, the thighs that you are actually, yeah, the leg thighs. Okay, yeah, these are very powerful, very muscle, like there is a lot of muscles in there. Why does we have that kind of like a only muscle in our thighs? Is because of that ki we could stand on two leg. Okay, means like that entire body weight is kind of like a something depend on these thighs. Okay, yeah. And so that's why this thighs has a lot of muscles and things like that. Okay, yeah. These thighs are very utilized to not just stand, but we could walk, we could run, we could dance, we could kind of like a something maintain ourselves in every situation, if there is rough surface, smooth surface, slippery surface, whatever it is, our thighs are always try to maintain our body at straight at whatever the kind of like a surface was it is. Okay, yeah, like it's not just a thighs, it's a kind of like a something, our brain has a kind of like a gyroscope inside, so it kind of like a maintain what exactly is this thing. But still, the one of the very important thing that our leg is has muscles. Okay, yeah, and it kind of like simply help us to do lot of stuff, running, walking, standing, lot of things. Okay, yeah, same thing happened with the birds. Okay, yeah, but birds are kind of like a not using their leg, they are using their hand. Means like that ki we have hands, okay, but we don't really have a wings. Birds, they don't really have a hand but they have a wings. Means like that their mutation is actually happened from hand to wings. Okay, yeah. Now another thing is that ki birds are fly. Okay, birds are flying. Okay, yeah, that means like they need to put lot of muscles into their hand. Okay, yeah, so basically what I'm trying to tell you, their wings, the bird's wings are so much stronger than their legs. Why? Because like just I'm trying to simplifying this thing, I'm not like kind of like simply expert in this particular field. Okay, yeah, but whatever from the observation that I'm kind of like seeing, the bird's wings are so much stronger than their legs. Why? Because their wings are kind of like a something utilized for flying. Okay, and that is kind of like a something against the gravity. That means they does really require so much amount of muscles over there. Okay, yeah, so basically this is what it is. So if we wanted to fly, we need to replace from thighs, like we need to replace the muscle from thighs to our hand, and we need to grow wings in our hand so that we could fly. Okay, yeah, but like this is not enough, literally not. What I'm trying to tell you is this thing, it's a very different. When we fly, uh, we really require so much amount of energy. Okay, yeah, and very amount of little less. Means like that ki the usually the average weight of the bird is less than a 1 kilo, literally, yeah, like some of the birds are very less weight, maybe 10 gram, 15 gram, 50 gram, or maybe 100 grams, or maybe 200, or max to max 500 gram. Okay, yeah, if we went to kind of like a some very big birds, means like that eagle or things like that, it went up to almost like a 2 or 3 kilo. Okay, yeah, but in my entire life I haven't really seen any kind of like a some bird who is kind of like a more than 10 kilo. Might be they are kind of like a exist, but I'm not really sure, and I don't really have that much information regarding about that. But most of the birds, almost like a 95% of birds, are less than 5 kilos. Why? Because let me tell you one thing now, when we need to fly, we really required very less amount of weight. Okay, yeah, like having less amount of weight, that means we could generate the lift and then we could fly. Okay, yeah, that means like if I have almost like a 70 kilo right now, my weight is almost like a 70 kilo, I need so much amount of kind of like a something muscle power and lift of force, then I could fly, and that force is too much. Let me tell you one thing now, ki power required for walking, running is very less than flying. Means like that ki if we wanted to fly, we need to spend so much amount of energy, calories and stuff like that. Okay, so flying is a kind of like a very 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 difficult thing. Okay, yeah, so what I'm trying to tell you is this thing, that ki nature is always kind of like something upgrading. Okay, yeah, means like that ki what is actually is this thing, it kind of like a something, the evolution means like that ki it change according to the situation. Okay, according to the kind of like a something environment. um an example, okay, let's say another example. uh just have you seen any kind of like a person who is a blind person? Okay, yeah, probably you don't really seen it, or maybe you've seen it, I don't know. Okay, yeah, but what I'm trying to tell you is this thing that ki, the person who are blind, okay, yeah, their smelling sense are very strong, their touch sense are really strong, they could hear very much clear. What do you mean by that? It means by that na ki, like basically just example, there is a boy who actually born but blind. Okay, yeah, he can't see anything at all. So basically his brain is kind of like a simply utilized to kind of like a simply do such a thing so that he would kind of like a sustain or save himself without not having eyes. Means like that he, his hearing senses is kind of like a improve, his touch senses is really improve, his smell senses is really improve. And this is true, by the way, like if you went to any kind of like a blind person who is like a really understand where he is, he hear very quickly, like other senses are kind of like a simply so much active. And this is what actually happened with the our ecology or evolution. Okay, I means like that ki if some certain species or anything who is kind of like a living in some certain area, then at that particular area, they evolution is kind of like a giving them such a improvement or upgradation so that they should supposed to be sustained. Okay, yeah, let's say example as a human. Okay, yeah, so basically what I'm trying to tell you is this thing, other species has a fur. Okay, yeah, so that they would kind of like a simply survive in winter. Okay, yeah, other species have a wings so that they would fly. Other species means lion or tiger, they could run. Okay, yeah, but as a human we don't really have anything, we don't really have fur, we can't run that much fast. As also is this thing that ki, we are kind of like a something very not so strong species so that we meant to be survive. Okay, yeah, so basically the only chance for human need to survive is stick together. So that's why our human are kind of like a sticking together, and because of this thing they are meant to be survive. And this is what kind of like some evolution happened. So that's why humans are trying to live together, and right now we are living in city society, yeah, almost countries actually form is because of the kind of like only we live together. Okay, yeah, because when we live together now our survival rate is really high. Okay, yeah, because of when we live together our social skills is improve, our information the transfer of information is actually improved, we could share things, emotion, information, knowledge. Okay, yeah, so that we would understand each other and try to figure it out, solve the problem. Okay, other species they also live together too, they also live together. It's not really that ki only just a human live together. But what I'm trying to tell you is this thing that ki a human has a kind of like a some certain very like a evolution is actually giving a one good thing for every species so that they meant to be survive. Okay, yeah, like the tigers or lion or cheetahs they could run fast. That means they could kind of like somebody catch something really animal so that they could eat. Okay, yeah, okay, so that's why they could run that faster. Okay, yeah, uh, then polar bear has a fur. Okay, yeah, so that means they could kind of like survive in very harsh winter. All right, yeah, so what does human has? A human has is a brain, but everyone has a brain. Okay, yeah, like every species has a brain. But what is exactly kind of like a simply very tiny difference between our brain and other species brain? Okay, yeah, in our brain we have kind of like a simply neuroplasticity. What's the neuroplasticity? Okay, yeah, so neuroplasticity means like that ki our brain are meant to be improved, it meant to be evolved, it meant to be kind of like a simply improvisation. Other species of brains they are not meant to be improvisation. What do you mean by that? Okay, yeah, So what I'm trying to tell you is this thing that ki other species of brain, they don't really evolve that much. Okay, yeah. They just kind of like a simply understand their surrounding situation. Like I don't know. Okay, yeah. Let me simplify this thing. Okay, yeah. I am not an animal, and I don't know how does animal what exactly their brain works and things like that. I don't know. Okay, yeah. But we have kind of like a something very special thing we call neuroplasticity. Now let me tell you one thing. What is actually neuroplasticity? Okay, yeah. So ask, have you ever kind of like a something try to learn something bicycle? Like when you are little, you try to learn bicycle. Yeah, like when I was kid, I tried to learn bicycle and I fall multiple times. Yeah, I fall multiple times. I don't know how do I supposed to drive the like a cycle. Yeah, and I fall multiple times, but I kept doing this thing. I kept doing this thing, kept kind of like a simply do bicycling every single day. I fall, then I learn, I fall, then I learn, I fall, I make mistakes, and slowly I could ride the bicycle. Okay, yeah. Right now I cannot fly. Sorry, right now I cannot fall. Right. So what I'm trying to tell you is this thing that ki when we learn something new, our neurons are kind of like a something inactive. Okay, yeah. And when we inactive means like that ki it's not really grown up that much. Okay, yeah. When we learn something, it grown little by little. Okay, yeah. And we are kind of like a repeating this task again and again. The neurons connection is kind of like a became so much stronger. Okay, yeah. What is actually neuron? Yeah, a neuron means like that connection between you and your brain. Okay, yeah. Like basically we have this muscle memory. Okay, like example, if you are righty person, write down your name. My name is Saurabh. I will gonna write down my name Saurabh, Saurabh, from my right hand. I could write very easily. If I had tried to write from my left hand, can I write that thing? I cannot. Like basically I could, but it just like that it's not really that efficient or it's not really that good. Why? Because of that ki we have, like I have muscle memory at my right hand so that I could write some sort of thing from my right hand. Okay, yeah. So basically this is kind of like a something muscle memory, and that muscle memory means like that the neuron connection between our organs to our brain. Okay, yeah. Regarding about what kind of like some sort of activity that I wanted to do, it's kind of like simply building the connection from the neurons and try to kind of like improve that thing. Means like that ki if I can't ride the bicycle, my neurons are bitterly weak. But if I try to do again and again and again and again, my neurons are kind of like a something building the connections. And when it build the connection, it kind of like a something that ki I don't really kind of like a something utilize my brain power to draw the bicycle. No, like ride the bicycle. No, it's not like I could ride the bicycle whenever I want, and I am not really fear of fall because I already know how to drive the bicycle. Sorry, drive, yeah, drive the bicycle, yeah. So this is what it is. Okay, yeah. Means like that ki our brain are meant to be improved, they are meant to be evolved, they are meant to be kind of like a something learn something. Other species, they also kind of like a learn something, but it's very less. Okay, yeah. Like basically a human brain could kind of like a learn, and we have other things too. Like let me tell you one thing now, ki other species they have a brain. Okay, like a pigeon has a brain, a dolphin has a brain. But what I'm trying to tell you is this thing, the brain is not just only one thing that represent the smartness. No, it represent the other organs too. Means like that ki, yeah, let me tell you one thing, a dolphin is a way much smarter than us. But there is a one of the problem with a dolphin is that ki even if they have brain, they won't be able to utilize their brain as much because they don't really have hand, they don't really have a leg. They can't do that stuff, the things that we do. Okay, yeah. I know that dolphins are kind of like creating the echolocation, which is really unique, which is equivalent to a sonar. Okay, yeah. Even very smarter upgradation. But what I'm trying to tell you is this thing, it's not just a brain, it's other organs too. Means like that other organ are kind of like a helping the brain to do his function very properly. Okay, yeah. And none of the species they have kind of like a something that key such kind of like a something organ so that they could utilize to brain. What do you mean by that? um right now I'm walking. Okay, yeah. So if I wanted to walk, my legs are utilized to walk, right? Yeah. What is exactly my hand for? Yeah, what is actually my hand for? Okay, yeah. My hand for do my work. Okay, yeah. And what is actually work they came from? They came from my brains. The information actually came from my brain. Okay, yeah. So what I'm trying to tell you is just try to imagine a lion. Okay, yeah, with two hands, sorry, with the two leg. Okay, yeah. And two leg is kind of like a something just at midair, like a kind of like a something, a lion is actually walking like a human. Okay, yeah. Does this kind of like a something stuff like basically is this thing na ki, let's just I don't know how do I supposed to explain this thing, but yeah, let's just say ki you have a dog. Okay, yeah. And suddenly dog has a kind of like a build the uh like a dog has a brain. Yeah, every species has a brain. Okay, dog has a brain. Okay, yeah. And now dog could kind of like a something, dog brain is really smart, equivalent to a human. Okay, yeah. Now how does brain is kind of like a something somethingly do neuroplasticity, means like that how does kind of like a brain is kind of like a something evolve themselves, is because of doing the action. Okay, yeah. Doing the action means like that do kind of like a something action. Okay, yeah, like a walking or anything or whatever it is. Okay, yeah. How does dog kind of like a do some sort of action? Because all his organ are kind of like a stabilize himself, like a basically dog cannot walk on two leg, his all four legs are kind of like a stabilizing himself. So even if the dog has a smarter brain, they can't do that much evolve because of that ki they don't really have that kind of like a assembly organ to do kind of like a stuff or do kind of like assembly action or do kind of like assembly muscle memory. Okay, yeah. So that's why their brain is kind of like a evolve around kind of like a something little less organ, but try to kind of like a something, yeah. So this is what it is now. So brain are kind of like a simply change according to the personality, according to the species of personality. Okay, yeah. As a human, we have kind of we could walk on two leg, so that means we have two hand which are not meant to do anything at all for the nature point of perspective, but we are using our hand so many ways, like we could throw the things, we could hold, we could lift, we could like there are multiple purpose of hand that could do. It represent the action, that means it represent the muscle memory, that means it represent the building network connection between neurons and brain, that means it kind of like a simply improve the neuroplasticity, that means our brain are meant to be improved and that meant to be evolved, and that evolve is actually happened by taking actions, and our hand is kind of like a something take that action. Okay, yeah. So this is what it is, this is what kind of like a something the human brain is actually evolved according to it. Okay, yeah. So what I'm trying to tell you is this thing that key evolution is always improvising himself regarding about every species, regarding about every organ, regarding about everything. Okay, yeah. Now the question was that ki how does as we as a human is kind of like a something inspired from nature invention. Birds that we already talk about this thing, spiders, yeah. Spider web, yeah. um Spider web is a kind of like a something very light material. It's even more lighter than our like a basically is this thing na, pull out our one hair. Okay, yeah. And try to compare the weight of the spider web and your hair. Probably the spider web is a lot more lighter than your one single hair. But still what I'm trying to tell you is this thing that the spider web are really strong, like basically hair is also really strong too, but still what I'm trying to tell you is this thing that ki spider web are kind of like a very strong, and it could kind of like somebody utilize like this is like I don't know, it's just like that now I try to resonate with the spider web to the nylon. Okay, yeah, but still nylon is something very different because yeah, like somewhat like we have like we actually kind of like I just try to resonate that the spider web are kind of like a something inspiration from kind of like making the rope or things like that. Okay, yeah, because in the early human we don't really have a rope, and we are kind of like inspired from spider web, so that's why we have a rope and things like that. Okay, yeah, there is a one thing that I wanted to talk, okay, which is does not use in nature. Okay, and what is that thing? Like it does not like basically this is kind of like an invention is actually happened by the human, which is not kind of like a happened like basically most of the invention of human is actually based on inspiration from the nature. Yeah, mostly, yeah, but there is a one thing which is does not happen in the nature. Like it happened in the nature, but we don't really seen it. That is called a wheel. Let me tell you one thing: the wheel that we have, the circle that we have, like the wheel that we created, like this is kind of like some invention that we are created, which is does not happen in the nature. Like basically in the nature we cannot see any circle. Like if you went to the space, then you might gonna see the circle, like planets and stars and everything are in circle format. But I'm not talking about the space thing, I'm talking about at the earth thing. Okay, like basically if I'm living in earth, like if I'm living in earth planet, there is nothing really in circle shape, nothing like a, but still there are so many things now, like basically let's say flower is a circle, then sun or moon is in circle. Yeah, like basically these are things, but they don't really kind of like something things that key like it's not it's not kind of like something help us to create the wheel. Okay, yeah, and wheel is a kind of like something one of the biggest invention is actually happened in our human history. And it is, yeah, like the because of wheel we like it's a really really big thing, really really big thing, dude. Yeah, so and that the wheel is not kind of like a something used in nature, nothing really at all. Okay, yeah, basically in a circle format mostly we found so many stuff in nature which is actually in sphere format. Okay, yeah, but not exactly in sphere. Okay, somewhat kind of like a something associated with look like a spear, but not exactly. Yeah, but the wheel is a kind of like a one thing that I wanted to talk, which is does not found in nature and we are invented by ourselves. And this is actually happened because of the neuroplasticity, because of that key, like basically our brain are kind of like evolved that much so that we could create such a thing which is not even exist in the universe. Okay, yeah, like mobile phone that we have, like the internet that we have, the house that we have, like these are the kind of like a things, the gadget, the aircraft that we have is like such a thing that does not exist in the like the known universe probably. All right, so this is what it is, like this is what kind of like a something the human nature are kind of like a something humans are learn from the nature. There are so many things, by the way. All right, so this is it. This then, am I explaining it properly? I don't know. Yeah, but whatever. This is it. Thank you.